Hey everybody, live from the On Target Podcast Studios in beautiful Maitland/Orlando, Florida. It's the Tom Squared Tech Talk Podcast with your hosts Tom Jelneck and Tom Craig. Welcome back to the Tom...
Hey!
How do we do this again? Tom, it's Friday afternoon. How the heck are you?
It's a beautiful thing. We love Fridays, Tom.
We do love Fridays. And why is that, Tom?
Because we don't get the interrupting phone calls as we work all weekend.
Those in-laws.
Are
those
you coming
calls
over
never
for
stop.
Dinner?
What are you doing?
You gave them your number?
Well, I gave them your number.
Oh, see, that would explain an awful lot.
What's going on, man? How are you?
It is a beautiful day here on this side of the table.
It is. Thanks for joining us. Tom Craig from Advanced Systems Solutions.
That is I, and with Tom Jelneck here with On Target.
Hey, we're pleased as punch to be here as usual.
Couldn't be happier.
Drinking Jameson and coffee, and I'm sipping out of my amazing new Apple water bottle, which Tom is really jealous. I've caught him several times trying to steal it and take it home. I'm not going to let that happen.
Well, Tom, we all have our faults and we all have our vices, and I understand that you're holding on. You're holding on to a bygone era. I think when did the Apple start? I think it was Adam and Eve who were the first ones noted to have an apple. Yeah, and still just.
Where are you going with this,
as
Tom?
antiquated.
Are you saying that this is a piece of legendary history?
We'll go with that.
Are you saying that it's touched by God in some way, shape, or form, Tom?
So I think what we're going to be talking about today is keeping ourselves safe when it comes to credit cards and their usage. Am I right, Tom?
See,
how I just
talks,
kind of just
Tom
flew
talks
right
a
out
good
of
talk.
that?
He's,
Yeah.
you know what? The reality is he's intimidated by the Apple.
Yeah. Well, I try to be a nice guy, Tom. I try so hard.
Well, you are a nice guy.
Yeah, that's because we just steer clear of that whole Apple discussion.
I know it makes you uncomfortable, and whenever you're talking about perfection and godliness. Compared to a Windows operating system, I know it just kind of it's unnerving to you.
I understand now the fragileness of Apple users' egos and such. When I started reviewing the terminology and the actual revisions that Apple has put forth, and realized they're not really putting numbers out there, Tom. They're putting pretty names: Snowflake, Super Snowflake, Yosemite,
Ouch.
Albatross.
Wow.
I can't keep up with all the different
Let me give
releases.
you an original name, Windows 8.
No, wait. Windows 10. And that's it. They're done. That's it. That's the last one.
They should be done. They should stop.
But see, at 10, you forgot about jellyfish and jelly bean and ice cream and ice cone. And
that's Google products, which are Android, which run on PCs.
Oh, see, I can't keep all the fancy names straight.
Or should I say crash on PCs?
As I was just telling you, we have a user that crashes their PC so often we've had to install airbags.
I love it.
Yeah, but we'll steer clear of that argument. We'll save that for its own podcast because I think we could go on for a couple podcasts.
We're just skimming the pond, Tom.
Yep, skimming the pond. That's like fishing, but that's I like that.
Thank you.
Did you just come up with that?
I did just now as we're sitting here.
That's good.
As I'm drinking out of my Apple bottle. So skimming right along, Tom.
All right, skimming right along, and hopefully not, because that's what we don't like is that skimming.
We're really working well on our transitions lately, aren't we?
Well, they're getting there slowly but slowly. But
like my in-laws trying to get to the dinner table.
Yeah, or mine trying to leave. So. But
there's the door, Gertrude.
That's right. We'll steer clear of that angriness, and we'll cut back to the heart of the matter here. This skimming.
I've got a story for you, Tom.
Please.
I'm driving downtown the other day, going to a client meeting. I'm in the big city.
Yes.
I'm coming from the burbs here, going into the big city of Orlando.
Yep.
I get off the exit, Tom. There's sirens and homeless folk and traffic going to and fro, and you hear the horns beeping and the people flipping you off.
The sounds of the city.
It's lovely, isn't it? And there's no birds tweeting down there.
None.
I pull into the parking garage. It's this convoluted ridiculously constraining parking garage. I get to the third floor, meet with my amazing clients. It was fun. Gave me a validated parking sticker thingy. You aware of these?
Okay.
You stick them in the hole. They say, yeah, you can go now.
We feel great when we get those.
I love those, right? So I'm coming back down the parking garage. I get to the gate, stick in the thing, and it tells me, hey, you owe us $1 still.
Always a nice message to get back.
Right. There's no human beings running this parking gate.
You're trapped.
Thing. I'm trapped. I'm stuck there. And meanwhile, there's like 10 people behind me getting really impatient. So
Sorry about that, Tom.
Yeah, I feel the pressure. So I dig in my wallet, and my first instinct is just pull out my business debit card.
Yep.
I stick it in what looks like a reader, but it said unreadable. So I pulled that card back out, and then I realized I put it in backwards or whatever. So I pulled another Visa out of my wallet that luckily was not a debit card, but I stick it in, I swipe it, payment accepted. It opened the gate. I left, and then it hit me, Tom.
Yeah?
It was like a ton of bricks
And what was
falling
that?
on me. Despair.
Yeah?
Fear, Tom. Anxiety. Do you know why?
That self-serve box?
That self-serve box that had the plastic reader was all cracked and jacked up, and I did not feel that comfortable sticking that card in there. But, I had zero choice whatsoever.
And the pressure of the people behind you did not help.
I don't deal well with that, Tom, the pressure.
Who does?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, certainly not I. And I feel your pain. But yeah, it's always alarming to look back at times like that and you think, wow, that reader was a little rickety.
It was.
Yeah?
Sketch, as the kids might say these days.
Yeah.
So I came back. My wife is also in accounting here, and I told her which card I used. I go, I think you want to monitor that card because I did not feel good about that swipe, Tom.
Wise move.
It was not a good swipe.
Wise move. And that's usually the best thing you can do is keep an eye on those accounts, regardless of where you're scanning them, because it's not just at that sketchy, rickety one in the parking garage there. It's also the gas station readers.
You got that right.
And now a lot of the ATMs in smaller locations. Thankfully, not too many at the bank locations. But it's important that we remain mindful of these devices and looking for any sketchiness, as you said. You know, that's the best way to put it. It's amazing the technology they can do. And what we're talking about here is they've installed the nefarious people. We haven't used that in a couple
we
podcasts,
haven't.
Tom. No,
back to the nefarious.
It's back to the guys in the hats and glasses again.
The cyber thugs.
They are. They're out there and they're putting these devices onto where we would insert our cards, but they're putting them over top of it. So as we insert our card to be accepted in the device that we're using, they're actually getting our the strip information off the credit card and able to either wirelessly transmit that to themselves or come back and get that reader at a later date and get that information. It's not good. It's almost equal to a person who, when you hand your credit card over to pay the bill at a restaurant, they take it off and they run a copy of it, and then they do the actual charge for your dinner and then bring you the card back. Very similar in concept.
Nefarious.
It is, and it's just it's amazing how much time gets put into realizing how to sketchily get some of these cards by skimming them.
So I mean, this is something I'm thinking about all the time because imagine like you and I, Advanced System Solutions, are on target. We run our businesses with. I've got a debit card that I use pretty consistently.
Yeah.
It's got the chip on it, Tom, which makes you feel like, oh, I got the chip, I got to be safe. But that's not even the case anymore. The chips people have found ways to crack the chip too.
Again, it's amazing how much time is spent into this, and you think, well, if they just would spend their time on something that would be, an enhancement to us and not a detriment to society.
Yeah.
The world would certainly be a better place.
It would be, and our in-laws would be happy.
And
everyone would have an Apple.
It all flows down to, we can all dream, Tom. We can all dream.
I should say discerning.
Yeah,
people.
Yeah. There we go.
People with taste and and aspirations to create.
Wow. Well, and those of us who actually need to do work, we will stick with our PCs and make sure that we get the work done. So those paint brushes are there for you artistic folk when needed.
Thank you. Microsoft has a great product out called Paint.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No. You're not up with the times, Tom. It's now Paint 3D.
Oh, excuse me.
For those Windows 10 users
Paint 3D,
out there.
wow.
Yeah. So Paint 3D actually is a very robust solution for those of us who are trying to use our PCs for that dilly-dally stuff that those Apple users we usually leave for. But
you know what you could do with that, Tom? You could paint the screen blue.
there you go. Which would be good because we don't see that anymore with Windows 10, Tom.
Sure. The screen of death doesn't exist anymore. Is that what you're telling me?
So now what we use it for is we use it to paint the color wheel of death, as we call it. You like that?
See, it's a palette of death.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of superior products in Apple, we've talked a lot about skimming and different ways that people use credit cards, and I've got a solution.
Okay.
I've got a solution to keep you safer.
All right, bring it.
And it comes in this iPhone that I'm holding in my hands right next to my Apple water bottle.
Well, you've lost me so far, but keep going.
So it's called Apple Pay, Tom.
Ah.
Have you heard of this?
I have.
It's only been out for 3 years now.
Yeah.
So Apple Pay, what is appealing to me about it is you can actually have a near field communication transaction. So you're not swiping a card. You're not transmitting data to the credit card company. It's basically just verifying some numbers, and boom, Bob's your uncle, and you can walk out of that coffee shop with your coffee.
That is fantastic. What a wonderful service.
Wait, say that again, Tom?
I said, what a wonderful service. That's absolutely fantastic.
Very well thought out by the Apple people.
But you know what the Apple people haven't let us know about this great technology? Don't get me wrong. But it's important that when we're using these technologies, as you've said, Tom, with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, yes.
So you have this great power to use Apple Pay now. However, what apps are on your phone? That same one where you're keeping your credit card. So it's important that we remain mindful of the applications that we're putting on there, and we just don't put things on because they're the latest, greatest, flashiest thing out there in the App Store.
So I should delete Paint 3D off of my iPhone?
Thankfully, Microsoft was wise enough to not make that available in the App Store.
Yeah.
But
I
no,
think they're afraid a little bit.
Yeah. So, but some of the lesser known apps, if you see out there, I don't want to go naming any and having any arguments here with the listeners. But no, just be mindful of that, of what you're putting on your phone. It's in the same way that with my phone, I run a lot of client communication on there, which could involve sensitive data.
Right.
So with that, my wife gives me a very hard time that I don't have some of the simplest of apps on my phone. But I have to remain mindful that we're now allowing those apps to touch our sensitive data, such as the credit card.
Sure.
So Apple Pay, absolutely fantastic, and you're absolutely right. It's a great enhancement to security, but we just have to remain mindful that we're keeping up with the updates on our iPhone, and that we're keeping all the other rickety apps off of our iPhone.
And I want to kind of stick in a memo here, Tom, that Tom with Advanced System Solutions just called Apple great. And did you use the word phenomenal?
I said ideas behind both those words, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I just want to mark that as a turning point in not only our friendship, but in your taste.
Well, absolutely. I've always said that they have just absolutely the best ideas. That's why Microsoft steals those ideas so eloquently and builds off them to make them more robust solutions for us.
Okay, we'll go with that.
All right.
Speaking of apps, I have a new app idea, Tom.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's the in-law detector.
Oh, sign me up, Tom.
Yeah, you leave it running, and anytime they get within a 5-mile radius, all these alarms and sirens go off, and it's danger, yeah. So I'm working on that right now.
That I will be client number one. I can assure you.
I'll sign you up.
Yeah, I have Wolverines right now that I usually save for that. So when the in-laws start to come around, I can hear the
pack of
howl
wild
from the
dogs.
yard and realize that it's time to escape out the back door and hop into the bat boat and down the
Awesome.
river.
That's awesome.
Yep. So with that, Tom, and these Apple Pay, any other, I know Apple Pay is a great one that, so
Apple
using
and great. There it is again.
near field communication.
Yeah.
Fantastic idea.
Sure.
But any other advice for when using your credit card in public or
Yeah, here's a couple pointers. Certainly, anytime you go to a gas station, I always take the reader and kind of shake it a little bit with my hand. I do visually inspect it. I probably look like a doofus standing out there screwing around with their gas pumps, but like I want to make sure that there's not a device stuck in there. I also like to see that there's a seal on the gas pumps that say, seal is broken, blah blah blah. So I'm just mindful. I pay attention before I stick that card in there. Unlike the parking garage where I was just like I was screwed. There's no way around it. But that and I do cover the screen when I put in my PIN number. There's been instances where these cyber thugs have, stuck in a skimmer, but they also install a camera and they're paying attention to your PIN number. We especially see these at ATMs at banks, big national banks. People are getting their money stolen right out of it because they're putting in the PIN number and everybody can see it.
Amazing.
So you got to conceal that a little bit.
Yep.
There's also types of wallets out there that you can put because, believe it or not, there's devices that can actually scan the magnetic field on your credit card within a couple feet of your body.
Amazing.
So, blocking that magnetic strip is certainly important as well. What else? I think, to me, I do cringe every time I hand a server or a waiter a card because it's out of sight.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can say, "Hey, can you process that right in front of me?"
Exactly, which I'm thankful for that some certain restaurants are now doing that. They allow you, the reader at the table, to do that.
Yeah.
But there again, we have to inspect that reader because it's
Right.
sitting on a table that somebody has access to for well over an hour.
Yeah, and is that software up to date on that reader? Is
Yeah.
is the Wi-Fi that it's going through secure? I mean, there's tons of variables on this. One of the restaurants I go to now for lunch, when I'm treating the in-laws, there is a tablet they gave me to check out.
Yeah.
And I like that. I feel like I'm in a little bit of control of my credit cards not leaving the table.
Yeah.
But I just, my advice is you always have to be mindful that there's someone out there that's trying to take your money.
Absolutely.
And I hate saying that about society today, but geez, as long as we're going to keep using a goofy magnetic strip on the back of a credit card, which is the least secure thing on the planet. I mean, you know what that's equivalent to, Tom? It's you remember we were just talking about In Living Color, the band, Cult of Personality.
Yes.
I had a cassette tape.
Okay.
And on that cassette tape was all the information so I could listen to that song. That is the exact same principle that these credit cards are built on.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? And with all the advances in technology,
that's how we
such
roll.
as near field communication on your iPhone, that we're still relying on that old magnetic strip.
Right.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Amazing.
Hey, Tom, you know what time it is?
Yeah, I think I do.
It is time to reach in deep into our mail sack.
Reach deep into our mail sack.
All right. Well, who are we hearing from today, Tom?
So I'm talking to Shirley. She lives in Vero Beach. She actually called me yesterday, and she says to me, Tom, I don't feel good about a transaction I just had, and I'm really scared. What can I do to monitor or make sure that I am not a victim?
Great question.
So, Shirley, here's the answer to that. I say, if you're freaked out and maybe some of your information has been leaked, or if you feel like your card's been swiped, I would call your bank and alert them to it, and they can put like a temporary hold on your account just to keep you safe. Tom, what do you think?
I think that's a fantastic idea. And again, as you said earlier, having somebody, your wife or yourself, to monitor the transactions on your account, not just after we go to a place where we might consider was that a rickety scanner or not.
Yeah,
but
sketch.
it's good to every couple days just keep an eye on your accounts for that very reason, because you never know. A lot of what people will try to do is run rather small charges through.
They test it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And or do it consistently.
Right.
If they can do small charges consistently and not have you notice, as opposed to draining out your bank account, well, maybe if they just run $3 through 1,000 people's accounts, randomly, then it's a much less detected way and much easier for them to get away with it. So keep an eye on what you have. I think that's a great bit of advice, Tom.
Well, that was thank you, Tom. Shirley, also, the other thing I would recommend to you, too, is certainly if you feel like, if you know it was a certain card, you can call your bank and just say, hey, can you reissue me another card? And they'll do it. But I have to tell you, banks are really great today at catching the stuff before you do, because it's, the money comes out of their butts, too,
Absolutely.
if you know what I'm saying.
The way they correlate the data to find out this stuff is just amazing.
Yeah, and they have to get better and better at it, because if you think about all the fraud that is happening, it's costing banks a gazillion dollars. So, a lot of this is kind of relying on them and their spending in infrastructure, et cetera.
Yep, but we can't always just rely on them, because there will be times where we'll need our account, and it's always Murphy's Law that something will happen to the account when we need it most.
We got to be independent thinkers, Tom, right?
Absolutely. Got to stay on top.
Help me, help you.
And what a better way to end today's show.
It is bittersweet. We talked a lot about how wonderful Apple is, how much Microsoft sucks, how to keep yourself safe, keep your credit card safe, more importantly, how much you love Apple.
And we missed out on the most often used password for Apple devices. Do you know what that is, Tom?
Is it amazing?
It is incorrect.
Oh.
So when they get the note that your password is incorrect, it allows Apple users to actually remember what they were doing. And, a lot of these artsy people, they're a little far out there, Tom.
What are you trying to say, Tom? Are you
Not
saying
trying
that
to
I
say
am far
anything.
out there?
You are far out there in a different kind of way, Tom.
You're too kind. Hey, Tom, where can folks find you?
They can find us at advancedsystemssolutions.com. And yourself, sir.
You can check us out at ontargetdigitalmarketing.com. As always, it has been a blast, and we thank you so much, even the in-laws, for tuning in today. Go buy an Apple product. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
This podcast was recorded at the On Target Podcasting Studio.